Question: what is Restore Britain's agenda? Now, that's a very open question, but it's one that has to be asked, because obviously Restore Britain's getting a lot of traction. Rupert Lowe's heading it up. Rupert Lowe owns the limited company, and I'm sure, and I mean this sincerely, that Rupert Lowe's intentions are 100% for the betterment of Britain. He's like Benhabib. He doesn't need to do politics. He's doing it for the good of the country. And everything I've heard out of Rupert Lowe would suggest that he's a man of integrity. But the question that we've got to ask, and it's a serious question, is why did Rupert not throw his lot in with Benhabib? And again, there hasn't been a huge amount of talk about that from Ben or Rupert. They've just said they both agree on what the direction of the country needs to be, but they really see different vehicles for getting there. And this is where my concern comes in. And again, I'm not attacking anyone. I'm not going to start attacking the people around Rupert Lowe. I'm certainly not going to attack Rupert Lowe himself, because I think he's a great guy. But the question is this: how is Rupert going to get to the destination? Ben's been very clear. Set up Advance UK. They're going down the political party route. If the political party gets traction, people support it, people like it, and they win the next election, they're in power and they can make the change they need to do. Now, this is where the situation with Restore Britain is, I think, a little bit more opaque. So I was watching an interview that Charlie Downs did with Andrew Gold. By the way, I'm looking ahead of me because I don't want to trip over and fall, so I'm going to just lift the selfie stick a little bit more, because I don't want people thinking I'm not being very polite. Anyway, I was watching this this interview between Andrew Gold and Charlie Downs, and it's a good interview, really good. I mean, I think Charlie Downs is extremely articulate. He's very talented, and he's obviously very, very ambitious. And kind of that's where I get a little bit worried. And again, I'm not saying anything negative about Charlie Downs, but what I am going to say is he said some things that really concerned me. First of all, he seemed to talk quite a lot about the Conservative Party, and the implication was, and again, if you think I've read this wrong from the interview, let me know. The implication was that the Conservative Party can be saved, can be reformed, can be taken over, sort of hostile takeover by Restore possibly. But also he said this, he said, I'm still a member of Reform. Now when he said that, massive alarm bells started ringing. When you think about the history between Rupert Lowe and the leadership of Reform, I mean, man, you don't get much more thrown under the bus than Rupert did. And again, Rupert is by no means, you don't get to be mega rich and mega successful by being a stupid person. So I'm not for a minute suggesting that Rupert has been naive or is not thinking about what he's doing. But what does concern me is there's these very young, very articulate young men, I suppose, around Rupert, and they're very convincing. I mean, Charlie Downs, excellent communicator, he really does know his stuff. So have they tried to persuade Rupert to, in some way, get as much influence and control in the Conservative Party as he can, and also try and, in some way, form an alliance with Reform? And is that the big picture here? Now, it's not conspiratorial. I'm not saying that there's any skullduggery going on. I'm just saying, obviously, everybody is influenced by people. Everybody has someone that's their counsel. And if that counsel is counsel that is ambitious, that wants to win, and maybe will compromise on this and that to get what they want, then that will be a concern for me. Because you see, where I'm at, and this is just what I think, I don't believe that Reform or the Conservative Party are redeemable. I don't believe the Conservative Party is redeemable. When you look at Kemi Badenoch, she is, I mean, if Nigel Farage is weak sauce, then, you know, Kemi Badenoch is just that watered down. Kemi Badenoch is just that watered down sauce that you get in the greasy spoon calf. That's a little bit of HP sauce, a little bit of vinegar, and plenty of water. That's what I think, and that's my position on them. And then when you look at what Nigel's doing or has done, and Zia, and it becomes very obvious that the Reform Party is actually worse than the Conservative Party. In fact, they said they want to be to the left of the Conservative Party. So if the plan by Charlie Downs and the young guns that are influencing Rupert Lowe is to somehow have a hostile takeover of the Conservative Party, or have massive influence over the Conservative Party through Restore Britain, and also to have massive influence over the Reform Party, they are noble ideals, and it would be a great plan. The problem is, you're not playing a straight hand, because the reality is the Conservative Party and the Reform Party are absolutely not going to bring the change that's needed. And my question then is, if that's the case, what really is the agenda of those young guns that are surrounding Rupert Lowe? I'm not sure if Harrison Pitt's involved. I heard Harrison Pitt saying we need to create a new elite. No, Harrison, we don't need to create a new elite. We need to have democracy for the people, by the people. We need the British working class involved in a massive way, and we need them to be involved in a party that can actually win. Obviously, there's other parties, smaller parties on the right of politics, have great manifestos, great ideas, but they're not going to win an election. And the truth of the matter is that Advance UK could win an election. If we get all our ducks in a row, if we do everything right, we could actually win. Restore are never going to win an election because they're not a political party. Yes, Rupert's an MP, and probably the best MP there is in Parliament, let's get it right. He's absolutely taken the bull by the horns, and that's why Reform got rid of him. So is that the agenda, not of Rupert necessarily, but possibly of some of the young guns? I was going to say young Turks, but that'd be very insulting, so I'm not going to use that term. The young guns, excuse me, that are surrounding him. And I think that's just a question that's got to be asked, not as an enemy, but as a critical friend. And listen, I've got Ben on my channel tomorrow, and I'm going to be asking Ben some tough questions, because again, there's things. I'm a member of Advance. I 100% believe in Advance, but there's things I just want to hear from Ben's mouth about certain aspects of Advance. And I think when the country's at stake, we can't be shy about asking difficult questions, and we can't be shy about being critical friends. And that's what I'm saying to Restore Britain. What is your end game? How do you see yourselves? How do you see this Great Repeal Act happening without having a political party, unless you're trying to be the bridge between the Conservative Party and Reform? Or is it between the Conservative Party, Reform and Advance? That's the question. And again, I am just a normal guy, trying my best to do what I can to help save this country. But I think we all have a right to have answers to those questions. So the question is this for Restore Britain, for Charlie Downs, who seems to be the main spokesman at the minute, for Rupert as well. What's the agenda? What's the end game? How are you going to get this Great Repeal Act? Some of the policies that Restore are putting forward are fantastic. Some of the work they're doing, some of the social media work they're doing, absolutely nailing it. Again, Charlie Downs is a great communicator. But surely would it not be better to join with Advance and forge ahead like that? And again, I'm not in leadership of Advance, so I am literally just a punter that's doing what I can to ask the difficult questions and really to see if we can come to the solutions that we need. And the solution is that we get a government that comes into power, gets rid of the communists out of every area of British public life. We do need a McCarthyite witch hunt. We need to get rid of them all, because if we don't get rid of them, they're going to get rid of us. That deals with the very, very real problems with mass migration, the grooming gangs, Islamist terrorism, the Islamisation of the UK, Sharia, etc., the whole lot. and also breathes life into the economy, gets rid of net zero, and does all the stuff that needs to be done. There's so much work to be done. So I think we've got to be able to ask these questions, and we've got to ask them sincerely. So that's the question. Restore Britain. What is your agenda?